After 3 long years in a coma, a 12-year-old boy shockingly reveals, she'll open her eyes. In the small town of Maple Grove, amidst the sweet scent of magnolia blooms and the soft hum of cicadas, an unthinkable drama was about to unfold. 12-year-old Jake stood at the edge of hope and despair, his heart pounding like a drum against his chest. For 3 agonizing years, he had watched over his twin sister Emily, confined to a hospital bed, swallowed by darkness. Today felt different, electric, as if the air itself shimmered with an answer long awaited. "She's going to wake up," Jake declared, his voice breaking through the hospital's sterile silence. He had been telling anyone who would listen. A flicker of hope danced in his eyes as he whispered to Emily about their childhood dreams of exploring the stars. He painted pictures with words, describing sailing over the moon, just as he promised he would never let her forget. But every day was a battle. While he crafted stories of adventure, the whispers from classmates replayed in his mind, harsh and cruel. "That poor boy with the sick sister. And they can't even afford real food." They called him names, pushing him deeper into his own shell, making every visit to the hospital a double-edged sword. Still, Jake pushed through, embodying a fierce spirit that made him continue his rituals of bravery. The edges of Maple Grove shimmered with excitement as the annual charity fair approached, aimed at gathering funds for Emily's mounting medical bills. Jake saw beyond the tents and games. He envisioned unity. Yet as he dashed around, organizing, an unsettling secret emerged: a family tragedy that threatened to rip away the only semblance of stability he had. It was a dark legacy left behind by his parents, secrets he had buried deep within, now clawing their way back to the surface. Just days before the fair, Jake confronted his mother. "Why didn't you ever tell me about Dad's accident? Why do I have to learn from the whispers?" A storm brewed in her eyes, and the weight of her silence pressed down on him like an anchor in the sea. But Jake couldn't let it drown him. He recalled what his mother had taught him about resilience and love, about how people in this town came together during hard times. As the fair clicked into gear, the crowd buzzed with laughter and chatter. Jake's voice rose above the din, filled with raw emotion as he delivered a heartfelt speech. "We all face hard times, but love and compassion can pull us through." The townsfolk listened, their faces reflecting a mixture of surprise, understanding, and slowly, the blossoming of empathy. And then, it happened, a moment suspended in time. In the midst of his declarations, Emily's fingers twitched, her eyelids flickering like the dawn. Gasps erupted around him. Could she really be waking up? He felt a surge of joy and dread, a tight knot forming in his stomach. Each heartbeat echoed with the weight of possibility. They all held their breath, hearts intertwined in a fragile thread of hope. With sharpened emotions piercing the air, the town of Maple Grove stood on the precipice of change. Would they support him through this wave of uncertainty? Would they accept Emily as she was, and him as he was? As doubts swirled in Jake's mind, he could not shake the belief that their shared journey through darkness into light was just beginning. What lay ahead was yet unknown, but one thing was certain: the bonds of love would always emerge victorious. Jake's heart raced as he stood frozen, electricity crackling in the air around him. Emily's fingers stirred again, and the murmurs of the crowd melted into a deafening silence that pressed against his ears. He fixated on her peaceful face, still framed by the hospital sheets, as if she were the only thing in the universe. "Please, Emily, open your eyes," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Jake brushed her hair away from her forehead, feeling the warmth of her skin. The scent of antiseptic mixed strangely with the memories of play and laughter they had shared. It comforted him and terrified him all at once. Time stretched and twisted around them, each second a lifetime spent in a silent prayer. The crowd leaned closer, eyes wide, breaths caught in collective anticipation. And then it happened. With a soft, delicate sigh, Emily's eyes fluttered open. The world around them dissolved as their gazes locked, her bright blue irises meeting his. For a fleeting moment, the noise of the fair, the laughter, the distant music, the chatter faded into nothing. It was just Jake and his sister, who somehow found her way back to him. "Jake," she whispered, voice hoarse yet filled with familiarity. The sound of her name hanging in the air felt like an anchor pulling Jake away from that dizzying height of uncertainty. Her recognition sank deep into his heart, igniting a happiness he had long thought extinguished. Tears welled in Jake's eyes. Yes, it's me. I was right here, just waiting for you. He choked on his words, emotions tumbling over themselves as he grappled with disbelief entwined with joy. The crowd erupted. Cheers, cries of happiness, and applause resonated in waves, washing over them. Parents clutched their children, and friends embraced. This was the miracle they had longed for, the light after years of darkness. But all Jake could see was Emily. He felt as if the air had thickened, surrounding them in a bubble of warmth and familiarity. He squeezed her hand, grounding himself in this moment that felt nearly surreal. Do you know how long I waited? I've missed you so much. Emily blinked, confusion flickering across her brow. All was not yet right. What happened? I don't remember. Panic surged as he realized how disoriented she must feel. Awakening as if from a long dark dream. You've been in a coma. A long time. But you're back now. You're safe. It's all going to be okay. I promise. The uncertainty swirled back, a dark shadow creeping into the vibrancy of the crowd's celebration. What if she didn't remember? What if she struggled to adjust? Would Emily still be the sister he adored? That simple connection felt precarious, like a fragile thread about to snap. As doctors rushed in, breaking through the crowd with expert hands, Jake's heart fluttered. They began checking Emily's vitals, speaking in calm tones that felt far away. He wanted to pull her back into the cocoon of their childhood dreams. Yet he knew the world was going to demand so much more from them now. Questions, therapies, the uncertain road ahead. Hey, he said, leaning closer, urgency in his voice. You're not alone, okay? I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure this out together. Emily offered a faint smile. Yet the worry in her doe-like eyes remained. That scared look returned with the weight of unspoken fears. In that instant, Jake understood. This was only the beginning. What if the real journey wasn't just about waking up, but relearning everything they had both lost? As the doctors continued to assess Emily, Jake felt a tug within him. Their journey was far from over. A new chapter with all its uncertainty lay waiting. And with it came a chilling thought. What truly awaited them beyond the miracle of her return? The soft beep of the heart monitor filled the room, a steady rhythm that reminded Jake of Emily's fragile state. He watched as the doctors inspected her, their expert hands moving swiftly yet gently, an unspoken promise that they were doing everything they could. Jake leaned in closer, his heart hammering, and whispered, "You're going to be okay, let them help you." But doubt crossed Emily's face as she stared at the strange surroundings, the bright lights, and the unfamiliar faces. A flicker of fear glinted in her eyes, and Jake's chest tightened. "What if I can't remember?" she whispered, her voice quivering. "Just take your time," he urged, desperation creeping into his tone. "You don't have to rush anything. We're here together, and I'll be right by your side." Emily nodded slightly, though the worry lingered. Jake's gaze shifted to the crowd beyond the medical commotion. Friends, family, and strangers united in their overwhelming joy. Yet it all felt hollow. Cheers echoed around him, but he couldn't shake off the tremors within his soul. He turned his focus back to Emily, studying her face in detail. The way her eyebrows crinkled in confusion, the way her lips parted as if searching for the right words. "Do you remember Mom and Dad?" Jake asked gently, trying to grasp at temporal straws, desperate to ignite a spark of familiarity within her. "Mom, Dad." There was a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Jake clutched her hand tighter, searching her face for any sign of the sibling he had cherished all his life. "They've missed you so much. We all have. It's like the whole world was waiting for you to wake up." As the doctors continued their assessments, Emily turned her head slightly, her gaze drifting toward the window. Light streamed in, illuminating the room and casting shadows on the walls. "It's so bright. Where have I been?" Jake fought back tears. "You've been here with us in our hearts. Always. I didn't know if you'd ever come back." His voice broke, and he took a deep breath to steady himself. "But you're here now. It's real." They lingered in silence for a moment, the once chaotic room now feeling like a sanctuary just for them. But Jake knew he couldn't keep the shadows at bay forever. "What do you remember?" he prodded gently, heart racing at what might come next. Emily's brow furrowed deeper, the uncertainty wrapping around her like a shroud. I don't know. It's like a big empty space. I can't grasp anything, it's all so fuzzy. Jake felt a sinking feeling as he processed her words. What was it like to lose hope, to lose memories so vital? How could he help her navigate this empty chasm that lay between them now? That's okay, he said softly, though uncertainty nagged at him. You know, we can fill it together. The doctors wrapped up their examination, exchanging notes with serious expressions. Jake felt the pulse of anxiety rise within him. Each tick of the clock a reminder of everything they were about to face. One of the doctors turned to Jake, meeting his gaze with understanding. We'll need to monitor her closely for the next few days, Jake. It's a delicate time for her. Emily's eyes shifted back to him, a glimmer of pleading in her look. What if I can't get better? What if I can't remember us? Jake's heart twisted. You will remember. I won't let you forget. We have so much to share, so many memories to build. You're going to find your way back. As the doctors left, the surrounding noise faded into a low hum, and Jake found himself alone with Emily once more. The weight of the promise hung heavy between them, and he wished more than anything that he could erase her fears, fill in those gaps in her memory. But deep down, another question loomed larger than the rest. Could love truly bridge the distance caused by years of lost time? Would he be able to guide her through the fog? The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Jake squeezed her hand, letting his own fear wash over into vulnerability, hoping she could feel it, that they could confront this together. And just as he thought a fragile peace had settled, Emily's voice pierced through the quiet. Jake, what if I never feel like myself again? The question trembled in the air, dangling over them, a bittersweet reminder of the struggle that lay ahead. As Jake prepared to respond, he felt the ground shift beneath him, uncertainty swirling like dust in the light. Would their bond survive this test? The room felt smaller, the air thickening with unanswered questions. Jake leaned in closer, his heart racing. He could see the fear in Emily's eyes, and it broke him a little more each moment. We'll figure this out together, Em. You're stronger than you think, he said, trying to instill a flicker of hope in her. She blinked, processing his words as if they were foreign objects to dissect. What if I don't like who I am anymore? Her gaze dropped to their intertwined hands, so innocent yet so charged with worry. It hit Jake like a punch to the gut. Hey, he said softly, lifting her chin with a finger. You're still you. It's just it's gonna take some time. Memories aren't everything. They don't define you. He paused, searching for the right words. It's your heart that matters. You're Emily, funny, kind, and the best sister anyone could ask for. She bit her lip and nodded slowly, though the shadows of doubt still lingered in her eyes. Jake wished he could take away that uncertainty, wrap her in a protective bubble, and shield her from despair, but he understood that wasn't how life worked. They had to cope with reality's harsh grip. The monitor beeped steadily, almost like a metronome, and Jake found himself lost in its rhythm as he considered all they had faced. His mind flickered to what life was before the accident. The sound of her laughter filling the house, their endless games that often spiraled into laughter-filled chaos. He longed for those moments to come back to life, for his sister's spirit to shine through again. I remember some things, Emily ventured cautiously, her brow furrowing with concentration. I remember laughter, and you telling me stories. A smile crept onto her lips, but it was brief. But everything else, her voice trailed off. The smile vanished like mist evaporating under the sun. That's okay. Those memories are a start, Jake emphasized, feeling a surge of hope. We can build on those like a puzzle. He hesitated, glancing toward the door as if expecting someone to burst in with miraculous news. We can even make new ones together. The corners of her mouth quirked up again, just for a moment. Will you tell me those stories again? Absolutely. We'll make a list and go through each one. All the dragons and adventures, he promised, feeling his own excitement rekindle as visions of bright futures formed in his mind. Just then, the door creaked open. It was their mother, her wide eyes seeking Jake's. Is everything okay? She asked, concern etched across her features as she scanned the room. Yeah, Mom. Just talking. Jake smiled, highlighting the flicker of hope in Emily's expression. Their mother stepped in, enveloping both of them in a tight embrace. You're here, we're all here, she whispered, and Jake could see the tears pooling in Emily's eyes. See, You're not alone, Em, Jake said gently. We're your team, remember? Emily's face shone with a flicker of determination. I guess I'll have to believe that. The resolve in her voice sparked something deep inside Jake. If she could hold on to even a thread of hope, then perhaps they could face even the darkest uncertainties together. Time felt suspended as they sat together, absorbing the love that surrounded them. Each heartbeat seemed to anchor them tighter into the moment. But as Jake's gaze roamed to the window, he couldn't shake the thought that loomed beyond the immediate warmth, the reality of everything that lay ahead. What challenges awaited them? What would the coming days reveal about Emily's recovery? Just then, a familiar voice echoed from outside, drifting in like a haunting melody. Jake. Emily. It's me, Ben. It was their neighbor and Emily's best friend. A spark of connection from their old lives. Jake turned to Emily, a mixture of excitement and apprehension surging through him. Want to meet him? The weight of possibility hung in the air. Would this moment bring Emily closer to remembering who she was or deepen her shadows? As he awaited her answer, the room felt alive with potential, but also uncertainty. Do you think I should? She asked, a hint of apprehension lacing her question. With his heart in his throat, Jake knew this was a pivotal moment. Would this be a step toward healing or another reminder of the distance they had yet to cross? Jake held his breath, feeling the gravity of Emily's question. I think it could be good, he said slowly. Ben knows you. He cares about you. It might help. Emily chewed her lip, weighing the decision. She nodded finally, a flicker of courage igniting behind her eyes. Okay, she whispered. Jake felt a rush of relief wash over him. He dashed to the door, swinging it open wide. Ben. Come in. In an instant, Ben bounded in, his youthful energy almost tangible. Hey, I've missed you. His bright smile faltered as he took in the hospital room. The sterile smell, the beeping machines. He seemed to second-guess himself, but Jake sensed his resolve to be there for Emily. Hey, Ben, Emily replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Ben crossed the room, his casual demeanor cloaking the depth of emotion swirling beneath the surface. I brought you something, he said, pulling a small, colorful box from his backpack. It's a memory box. I thought you might want to fill it up with your favorite things as you remember them. Her eyes widened, genuine curiosity flickering within her. The thought of memories, tangible items linked to moments in time, it was enticing yet overwhelming. What, like sending messages to the past or something? She asked, a smile tugging on her mouth. Exactly. Ben beamed. You could put in stuff you find or even draw. I'll help you. You know I'm the best drawer around. Jake watched the interaction unfold, that connection sparking something in Emily. It was like watching a flower awaken after winter. He felt hope blossom in the room, chasing away some of the looming shadows. I wish I could remember more, Emily admitted, her voice quaking just slightly as vulnerability washed over her features. Ben stepped closer, resolute. You are still you. The Emily I know is strong, funny, and totally awesome. And I know she's in there somewhere, he said, emphasizing each word with conviction. Emily smiled, gentle yet shy. Thanks, Ben. Jake couldn't help but join in the laughter that followed, the warmth flooding his heart. They spent the next hour reminiscing, Ben recounting tales of their adventures, racing bikes down the hill, building pillow forts, their silly secrets. Each story peeled back another layer of Emily's doubt. But as much as the memories brought joy, they also reminded Jake of how far they had to go. Emily's laughter was a balm, but it was also a reminder that they still needed to face the pain of what had been lost. The sun dipped lower outside, bathing the room in a soft glow, but the shadows in Jake's heart grew. As he glanced at Emily, he couldn't shake the nagging thought. What if her memory return revealed things she wasn't ready to face? What if I never remember? Emily murmured so softly only Jake could hear. He felt a knot tightening in his stomach. No matter what, you're not alone. We'll face whatever comes together. Just then, an uncharacteristic silence filled the room as they waited for the next moment. The next shared laugh or revelation. It hung heavily in the air, a testament to both their fears yet entwined with a glimmer of anticipation. What was waiting in Emily's mind, hidden and locked away? As they sat together, that question loomed larger than ever. Would further revelations lead them to joy or deeper shadows? Jake took a breath, ready for whatever came next, yet knowing they would need to cling tightly to their fragile hope. Would the light they found today endure the storms ahead? As the sun continued its descent, shadows lengthened in the room, creating a cozy but haunting ambience. The weight of unanswered questions pressed down heavily like an anchor. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that each tick of the clock was a step closer to either revelation or more heartache. Emily's gaze drifted toward the window, where the fading light danced with the branches outside. What do you think it's like, to remember? Her voice trembled slightly, and Jake could see her mind working through everything she had lost. I wish I could answer that for you, he replied, feeling the ache in his chest tighten. But I know it's a part of you that's still there. You'll find it. There was a moment of silence, the air thick with unspoken fears. Ben, sensing the tension, shifted the conversation back with a lighter tone. Remember the time we dressed up as superheroes for Halloween? You insisted on being Cactus Girl because you loved the gloves. Emily laughed, a sound like music, so carefree and innocent. Her cheeks flushed with warmth, and for a moment, they seemed to forget the heaviness of reality. Oh my gosh. I did, she exclaimed, giggling. And you were. What was it, Captain Underpants? Hey, the cape was epic. Ben shot back, a mock-serious expression making them all burst into laughter again. But even as they shared stories, Jake noticed Emily's joy was mingled with shadows of doubt. Every laugh hid a questioning glance. Every smile veiling that silent dread. What if the memories returned were painful? What if they altered who she wished to be? A knock at the door jolted them. A nurse appeared, clipboard in hand. Time for your therapy session, Emily, she said cheerfully, looking between the trio. Jake felt a quick pang of disappointment. He wanted to hold on to this moment a bit longer. Okay, Emily said, her voice small again, eyes darting between the nurse and her friends. Ben stood up, his energy dauntless. I'll be right here when you're done, Em. We still have a memory box to fill. As they wheeled Emily out, Jake followed closely. He felt anxious, the familiar knot twisting tighter. Therapy was essential, of course, but deep down he worried about what Emily might face, what shadows lurked in her mind. Waiting for that moment of clarity did I end the therapy room. Bright lights illuminated a myriad of colorful drawings and toys scattered about. But Emily looked small against the backdrop. Her smile faded slightly as she saw the brightly colored sensory wheel spinning nearby. Just relax and take it one step at a time, Emily, the therapist encouraged, gesturing her to sit in a comfy chair. Jake lingered by the door, straining to catch glimpses of Emily, hoping for a sign of progress. The therapist began asking questions, gently prodding at memories. With each query, Jake felt his heart race, longing to be inside her head, to understand her chaos and fears. Suddenly, through the glass, he saw Emily's expression shift, the furrow of her brow deepening, her lips quivering. What if, she murmured almost apologetically, what if I don't want to remember? The room felt like it had been plunged into silence. Jake's heart sank. It was one thing to guide her through a journey of memories, yet another entirely to wonder if those memories were better left undisturbed. What if the truth of Emily's past was a storm they weren't ready to weather? As her eyes glistened with unshed tears, Jake knew they had a long road ahead. Would she find solace in what lay buried within? His thoughts spiraled. A Pandora's box of insights and dilemmas sat before him, waiting. The journey of learning, would it lead Emily to recovery or leave them both groping in the dark? As the therapy session drew on, he looked for comfort in Ben's diaphanous grin, but it too faltered under the weight of what they might unearth next. Would the sun break free from the clouds? Or would they find themselves lost in shadow once more? The seconds felt like hours as Jake waited outside the therapy room. Each tick of the clock echoed in his ears, amplifying his anxious thoughts. He leaned against the wall, trying to catch even the faintest whisper from beyond the door. The world inside felt like a closed book, and he was on the other side, desperate to read the next page. After what felt like an eternity, the door swung open. The therapist stepped out, her expression neutral but careful. You can go in now, she said gently, gesturing for him to enter. With his heart racing, Jake stepped inside. Emily was sitting cross-legged in the chair, her eyes glassy but alive with emotion. The colorful room seemed to swirl around her, a stark contrast to the turmoil he sensed beneath her surface. Emily, he said softly, moving closer. How did it go? She shrugged, biting her lip. It was different, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a resilience in her tone that made his heart flicker with hope. I talked about the dreams, the flashes. Dreams. Jake remembered when she first mentioned them, the mystifying fragments of her past that sometimes haunted her sleep, like faded pictures lost in a photo album. And what did you see? He asked, his breath caught in his throat. Emily hesitated, her fingers interlacing anxiously. It's hard to explain. It's like seeing someone's shadow in a room. You know it's there, but you can't quite make out the details. Jake felt a wave of empathy wash over him. That's okay, he encouraged with a soft smile. The shadows will start to clear up. You're brave for even facing them. She glanced down, staring at her hands for a long moment. What if those shadows are too dark? Her voice trembled, and Jake could see the fear flickering in her eyes, like a candle teetering in the wind. Then we'll face the dark together, he said firmly, feeling a calmness settle in his chest. You want to be alone. Not now. Not ever. Emily looked up, a smile breaking through her uncertainty. It was a small smile, fragile yet genuine. Promise? Promise, he affirmed, holding her gaze. Just then the nurse returned, bringing with her a small box of crayons and a stack of paper. Emily, how about we draw what we talked about? Sometimes putting it on paper can shed some light. Intrigued, Emily nodded. They laid the paper on the table, and Jake watched as she picked up a crayon and hesitated above the blank page. Can I draw your shadow? She asked quietly, glancing at him. Sure, he replied, puzzled yet touched by her request. But don't you want to draw your own shadows first? She paused, eyes narrowing in concentration. Maybe I need to draw your shadow to know how to see mine, she said, her voice imbued with a newfound strength. Just then, Ben popped his head through the door, his excitement contagious. Are we done yet? I need to know if we're making progress here. Emily giggled, the tension easing a little. Yes, I think we are. Jake might even be my muse. As they dove into the world of colors and crayons, Emily seemed to blossom, her laughter filling the room. Jake felt buoyed by her light, even amidst her lingering doubts. She was fighting to break free from her internal darkness. And for the first time, he felt like they could truly navigate this journey together. But just as he let himself feel hope, a shadow of his own crept over him, a gnawing fear too. If she began remembering, would she be ready to confront whatever lay within? Would sharing those revelations draw them closer, or push them apart? As Emily focused intently on her drawing, a flicker of uncertainty passed through Jake. He took a deep breath and wondered, with a sinking heart, what new challenges awaited them on this path of recovery. Would this be the turning point for Emily? Or the moment when the shadows deepened once more? Jake watched as Emily's crayon danced across the paper, bright strokes of orange and yellow punctuating the white canvas. She was lost in her own world, and for a moment the tension in the room faded. He leaned back in his chair, observing the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the gentle bite of her lip as she focused on capturing the essence of his shadow. Ben, still hovering at the door, broke the calm with a playful noise. What's taking so long? Jake's shadow better be impressive. Emily glanced up, her face lighting up with mischief. Oh, it's gonna be epic, she replied, her voice now tinted with excitement. Jake couldn't help but laugh. Lightness washed over him, filling the cracks of apprehension that had formed in his heart. He felt a spark of connection. Sometimes laughter was enough to illuminate the darkness, even just for a moment. Suddenly, Emily's expression shifted. Jake noticed her eyes widen. Jake, wait. Can you take a picture of my drawing when I'm done? I want to remember this. Of course, he said quickly, nodding. He rummaged through his pocket for his phone, the familiar weight bringing him a sense of comfort. As Emily continued to draw, Jake captured each moment. The way she scrunched her nose in concentration, the joyous bursts of laughter spilling from her lips, it was all magic. Little by little he could see her spirit carving its path through the thick wall of shadows. Ben perched on the edge of his seat, watching Emily work. So what's it going to look like? Are you going abstract or something more realistic? Maybe a bit of both. Emily said brightly. Just like life, right? It's all mixed up with shadows and colors. Jake felt a lump in his throat. This girl had a knack for putting into words feelings that flustered him. The resilience she displayed made his heart swell with pride. He was so grateful for moments like this, moments when her spirit shone through the haze of uncertainty. After what felt like ages, Emily finally held out the paper to him, a proud smile stretching across her face. "Tada, what do you think?" Jake leaned forward, the drawing coming into focus. It wasn't just his shadow. It was vibrant and full of swirling colors, intertwined with hints of darker shades that hinted at the shadows she still faced. Beneath it all lay a glimmer of light, an undeniable hope that somehow pierced through. "That's incredible," he breathed, feeling a warmth spread through him. "You've caught so much more than just an image." "Yeah," she whispered, her voice softer now. "It's not just about shadows. It's about what they hide, too. I think I can start to see that." Jake's heart sank a little. "You mean confront it?" "Yeah, a little at a time." She bit her lip again, the weight of her thoughts emerging. "But what if it's too much?" "It won't be," he said, trying to instill courage in her voice. "We can take it slow. And when you're ready, I'll be right here." She looked up at him, a mixture of gratitude and fear swirling in her gaze. "Promise? Promise." Before she could reply, the therapist peeked in again. "How's it going in here? Any breakthroughs?" Emily exchanged glances with Jake, and he felt the flicker of unease between them. Would they remain this buoyant, or would the weight of reality press down once more? "We have a bit to share," Jake said, his voice steadying as he gestured to the vibrant colors spread before them. But as he caught the therapist's eyes, something in her expression gave him pause. "Great. After we wrap up here, I'd like to talk more about those shadows." His stomach tightened at the therapist's choice of words. Shadows. The weight of what that meant loomed ever larger. Would Emily feel liberated? Or would confronting her shadows push her away from him? As Emily nodded and smiled, the uncertainty crept back in, wrapping around his thoughts. The session would end soon, but in its wake lay the unknown. Jake glanced at Emily's drawing one last time, a flicker of hope sparkling in the colors. But deep inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey was just beginning, and that they might need more than crayons and paper to face the truth ahead. What awaited them beyond the therapy room? Would the shadows they faced draw them closer, or would they shatter the fragile bond they had begun to create? As the session drew to a close, Jake felt the air change. Emily's vibrant drawing lay between them, a fragile connection that somehow felt weighty and delicate all at once. The therapist's next words echoed in his mind as the door swung shut behind her. Shadows, the word hung in the space, heavy with its own significance. Jake turned to Emily, who looked pensive now, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for answers that weren't there. He wanted to reach out, to tell her that it was okay to feel what she felt, but what if his own shadows found a way to creep in, darkening the light she'd just discovered? "Hey," he murmured, his voice softer. "Are you okay?" Emily blinked, her focus returning to him. She took a deep breath, the corners of her mouth pulling up into a small smile that barely hid the storm brewing behind her eyes. "I think so. It's just a lot to process." "Yeah, it is." He nodded, knowing that it was true for both of them. "But you're brave, Em. You've already taken some big steps. This drawing, it's proof." "I guess," she said, her smile fading slightly. "But what if I don't want to talk about what's hiding in the dark?" "No pressure," Jake replied, trying to sound reassuring, not wanting to push her too hard. "You don't have to say anything you're not ready for. Just know I'm here." A silence fell between them, thick but not uncomfortable. He watched her, studying the way her fingers traced the edges of the drawing, as if she could unravel its secrets that way. Each stroke of color seemed to pulse with her thoughts. Then suddenly, she looked up, her expression shifting. "Jake, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What if my shadows are too heavy? What if I can't be, like everyone else?" "You don't have to be like everyone else," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "You just need to be you. And whether that means tackling those shadows or sitting with them for a bit, it's okay." Her eyes sparkled for a moment, a flicker of understanding lighting up her expression. "You really think I can do it?" "I know you can." Their eyes locked, and Jake felt a pulse of empathy crash between them. Something flickered, something alive, the connection solidifying like a rope drawing tighter. But the fear was still there and uncertainty about what lay ahead. The therapist returned, clipboard in hand, her demeanor professional yet warm. All right, team. I think it's a good time to dig a little deeper. How are we feeling about discussing those shadows we mentioned earlier? Emily glanced at Jake, the hesitation clearer than ever. He offered a subtle nod, silently encouraging her. She took a deep breath and steadied herself. I think I'm ready to talk about them, she said slowly, her voice steady but tinged with worry. The therapist smiled, a glimmer of approval lighting up her eyes. That's a great start, Emily. But Jake's heart raced at the thought of the intensity to come. As Emily's gaze shifted toward the floor, he felt a swell of guardianship rise within him. He couldn't let her go into this alone. Not now. Just remember you have me, he said, his voice low but firm. I won't let you face it alone. Emily nodded, but the flicker of fear returned to her eyes, making Jake ache to offer comfort he wasn't sure how to give. He wished he could take the burden upon himself, to strip the shadows of their power, but he knew he couldn't. This was her battle. As they began to delve into the truths hidden in the corners of her heart, Jake could feel the weight of the world pressing down on them. But in that weight he detected a shifting, a change, a transformation. What lies on the other side of the shadows? Would it be clarity, liberation, or a realization that they weren't as strong as they thought? Whatever happened, he feared that once they illuminated the dark corners, there would be no turning back. And as Emily began to open up, Jake's heart raced, wondering if he'd have the strength to keep up with her and with himself. The therapy sessions rolled on like waves crashing upon the shore, relentless yet cathartic. Each encounter plunged Emily into the depths of her psyche, sifting through layers of shadows she had carried for years. But with Jake beside her, she felt less like a ship lost at sea. Despite the storm, she knew she was anchored by love. One afternoon, as golden light flooded the room, Emily sat with her hands folded in her lap, taking a deep breath before she spoke. Today, I want to talk about the accident, she said, voice steady yet shaky. The air felt electric, vibrating with an unspoken tension. Jake's heart raced. This was the moment they had been preparing for. He reached over and squeezed her hand. I'm right here, Em, he whispered, steadying her gaze with his own. Emily's eyes glistened with unshed tears as memories began to surface. I remember flashbacks, fragments, a car, the sound of glass shattering. There was so much fear. And then nothing. Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, determination woven into her words. I saw Mom crying. I thought I wasn't going to wake up. Jake felt a lump form in his throat, but held his silence. He wanted her to share, to confront the fears that had haunted them both. You're so brave, Em, he finally said, voice thick with emotion. I want to remember everything, but I'm scared, she confessed, anguish etching her delicate features. What if it's too hard? What if I can't handle it? Jake leaned in closer, his eyes shining with conviction. If it's hard, we'll face it together. You've already come so far, Em. Remember when you drew your shadow? That was you reaching beyond the darkness. You're stronger than you know. A flicker of hope ignited in Emily's eyes as she mirrored his conviction. Will you be with me when I dig deeper? I don't want to lose sight of who I am, she said, vulnerability spilling into her expression. Always, Jake promised, a surge of protectiveness wrapping around them like a safety net. You're my sister. We'll fill those empty spaces together. With the therapist guiding them, they navigated deep waters. Emily discovered that confronting her past wasn't about dwelling in the sorrow, but acknowledging it like planting flowers in the cracks of concrete. Each session they shared uncovered roots of resilience, while Jake listened and helped her sift through the chaos. Weeks passed and Emily blossomed, piece by piece. She laughed more. She began to talk about dreams, fractures of memory swirling with colors, energized by her reconnection to life. The shadows still lurked, but they dimmed alongside the growing pool of light. With every story, every shared moment, Jake could feel their bond become a tapestry woven from pain and love. Finally, one day arrived that shone brighter than all the others, a sweet spring afternoon sprinkled with sunshine and possibility. After a session where Emily had discussed a vivid memory of the two of them playing catch in their old backyard, something shifted in her eyes. I want to have a family picnic, Jake. With Mom and everyone, she exclaimed with glee. Jake beamed. feeling the warmth of hope radiate through him. That's a brilliant idea, Em. We can gather everyone, Ben, Grandma, the whole gang, even make that silly crab salad you used to love. Emily erupted into a laugh. The sound so pure. But only if you promise not to burn it this time. He chuckled, nodding vigorously. Scoutess honor. I'll practice, I swear. The picnic day arrived in a wash of sunlight and soft breezes. The sound of laughter filled the air, curling around them like a hug. Under the magnolia tree that had always been their favorite spot, Jake laid out a colorful blanket while Emily held tightly to the basket, excitement sparking in her eyes. So many voices. Emily took a moment to drink it all in, the familiarity washing over her like a warm tide. She squeezed Jake's hand, beaming as their mom brought over a fresh batch of cupcakes. I'm back, she whispered softly, a realization blossoming within her. The day felt like magic, each moment a testament of their journey. Ben was there, exchanging playful banter with Emily, while laughter danced from family to friends. As Emily immersed herself in these joyful moments, she found pieces of herself she thought were lost forever. The girl who loved the sun. The dreams of seeing the stars again now flickered within her. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in a soft orange hue, Jake caught Emily's glance. Ready for the next chapter? He asked, his heart both thrilled and tentative. More than ever, she replied, a radiant smile breaking across her face. There was newfound power in her voice, a promise of what was to come. They were no longer bound by shadows, but illuminated by the bonds of love, laughter, and the determination to greet whatever lay ahead. Together as they shared food, laughter, and stories, Jake's heart swelled with gratitude. They had ventured through darkness, but emerged into vibrant light. The road wouldn't always be smooth, but together, they could brave the storms. And at that moment, among the sounds of joy and warmth of family, Jake knew they would always find their way back to each other, no matter the odds. If you're reading this, you need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories of hope and love. Leave a like to feed the algorithm, and support us in sharing these incredible transformations. Comment below with your feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting journey. Show the love, and let us keep spreading hope.